and I kind of understand this already, but most trainers seem to be put off by it because it's like you don't want to mess with your actual trainer. Like you want your product to be just that. You don't want any outside influence. And it's kind of, and you're shaking your head because you probably agree. And don't get me wrong, I had the same thought for such a long time, but I don't know. As of recently,
I'm actually the other way. I'm actually the other way of all this stuff.
oh, are you?
People are like peptides, ChatGPT. I'm like, no, those are great tools. Great, use them. Absolutely, use it all. Like I think people, like you said, some of the trainers are so afraid of that stuff. Like I'm not at all. I think it's good. Like anything that like truly, I mean, it sounds corny, but anything that truly makes humans or us better, go ahead, like do it. Like I'm all for that. Like there's enough
Yeah.
people that will still train with us. Like I'm not worried about ChatGPT or whatever AI or peptides taking away business. Like people still like crave that human interaction. So yeah, I think it's good stuff.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think maybe that's where it comes from. It's a feeling of lack or
Yeah.
scarcity.
Yeah.
That might be where it comes from for some of those people. But I'm yeah, man, I'm with you. It's like any way I can optimize, and I'm not necessarily taking anything like steroids or anything like that. But I mean, some people like TRT and it helps them, and
But
so
even then, people say like, well, steroids are bad. You're a cheater, and I don't necessarily agree because we put this label of illegal, right? If we remove that illegal label, is it cheating? Because if you made caffeine, made coffee illegal, there's a stimulant, right? If you made nicotine that, right? What's the difference, right? It's these are things that enhance us in some way, right? So I've never really saw the difference. Like I don't take them. I don't care for them. I don't need it for what I'm doing. But I don't see it as like a bad thing. It's just because there's this label that we're so attached to. This is illegal. So steroids are bad because they're illegal, but caffeine is good. Like you're no better if you're a person pounding 7 cups of coffee just to get through your day, and you're saying steroids are bad. I'm like, no, you're taking a stimulant as well, like.
yeah. Yeah, I like to find dig into the science a little bit, see what works best with your physiology, and then kind of just take it from there. And if you need a little bit of external help, especially if you're training like a motherfucker, if
Right.
you're
Right.
fucking whether you're a pro athlete or not, and you're training, and as we get older, shit just doesn't recover as well. And I think it's so good. Like, I mean, you know me, bro. I teach yoga, so I'm very I also teach yoga. I'm very much into like the restore, the R&R, the rest and recovery to optimize. But still, like at the same time, we're getting older, and so we're not recovering as well.
Right.
And I don't know, a little bit of extra help if you need it, like I'm
Yeah.
all for it.
I don't think it's a bad thing. It's funny you mentioned the recovery thing. I think for me, like, it's the recovery. Like my output can still match, 5 to 10 years ago, but it's the recovery. Like it's just like, yeah, I can hit that whatever workout we're doing, that WOD or some kind of hard lift. I can get after it, but then I'm like, crap. I start looking. I'm like, I'm not worried that I can't do it. It's the next couple of days after, right? So it's kind of funny that you mentioned recovery. It's not. I don't think it's the output for me that's declined. It's the recovery from the output.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, man. I feel the same, and I actually like even though I've been, promoting and selling regenerative medicine for some time now, I didn't start trying peptides until a little just about 3 months ago.
Mhm.
And a massive difference. And I just took like a soft tissue recovery blend, nothing like that. I I think like the muscle building peptides would also be helpful, but that's not quite my goal. My goal is just to help heal these nagging little aches and injuries that take some time. And I felt a massive difference in like all of a sudden, like it helped me get over the hump a little bit faster than usual, man. And um, yeah, but I also see the other side. Like I don't like I'm gonna finish my 3 months coming up pretty soon here, and then I definitely want to like I don't want to be dependent on it either. So it's like I'm just gonna try and find that perfect balance, use it when I need it, get off it, and just take it from there.
It's funny you mentioned dependency. Like I drink a lot of coffee. I mean, I don't know if it's a lot, 2, 3 cups a day, but anytime I feel like I'm too dependent on it, I will go cold turkey for a week or two, once or twice a year. Just because I feel like, all right, this is like I need it too much. I'll just like do it. And I know, and I think like people freak out when they hear that. Like, I mean, like, yeah, I get headaches, but like just deal with it. Like I think these are things that like I think we're so afraid of hard stuff that we just run away from, whether it's a cold plunge, whether it's in the sauna, whether it's a workout. Like we are I think we're just too comfortable. I think you got to be a little bit like crazy to seek discomfort, right? And I find ways to seek it. So yeah, I just anytime I feel like I'm too dependent on something, I just won't do it. Or I have a whole list of vitamins. Like I'm not dependent on anything. I try not to be dependent on anything, right? Like if I feel like I'm taking vitamins too much to get through my day, I just won't take it for a week. Like I won't, if I feel like I'm too attached to my routine, I'll just change the routine. Like, I mean, I have all these things set and I just every so often I kind of, get away from those things. Okay. So talk to me, man. You're doing, let's talk a little bit more about the stem cells. Like kind of like, what are they? I mean, I'm a little bit familiar, and then like kind of how'd you start like exploring that?
Yeah, so stem cells are like, I guess let me just talk a little bit about what stem cells are. They're within all of us, right? We all have stem cells. They modulate when you get sick or when you get injured. Um, they're within us, right? And then as you get older, they get older. They get less effective. It's just the nature of aging. And so what stem cell therapy is, oh man, it's giving you brand new cells. So a lot of times I'll say it's like almost a brand, it can be a brand new lease in life. And
Mhm.
especially if you're like super debilitated, you have some autoimmune condition, like these cells that get injected in you, and then over time they'll literally regenerate. I know you watched, I think we've talked about before. I'm pretty sure you watched Dragon Ball Z, but
Yeah.
it's like literally like Piccolo,
Right,
like
right, right,
except obviously not to that extent.
right.
It's gonna heal. Maybe your rotator cuff is gonna regenerate over 6 months to a year, right? Or you're gonna. It's because you get this brand new tissue that then is able to form into your own DNA, and it turns into whatever your body kind of needs. And it has so much potential. It can't quite turn into everything, but in due time, it probably will be able to. There will be probably Piccolos, like with AI helping and everything, just
Yeah, it's
sending your
funny you
arm
kind of
out.
make that a joke, but I feel like in our lifetime we might see some like limb regeneration or like some people walking again after paralysis. I just feel like the technology's there, modern science is so good. Like, do you feel like it's something we'll see?
Yeah, dude, people have already walked after paralysis
Right,
from they combine stem cell therapy and then like rigorous PT,
right,
and they're not fucking sprinting again,
right.
but they're able to walk with a walker again and stuff. So that's been done.
Yeah,
And you look at MRIs and their discs have regenerated, or rotator cuffs have regenerated, and doctors are baffled. They're like, what the fuck happened?
right,
What did you do? How did this, like, I've never seen this before.
right.
And then we're like, oh, I got some stem cell therapy. So
Yeah.
I'm a living case of it, and I actually need to get an updated MRI so I can see. But I was in a bad car accident. I think it was like maybe almost 3 years ago now, two or
Yeah.
3 years ago. Um, and then I was basically fucked up for a year and a half. And at this time, I was kind of like those trainers I was talking shit on earlier. I was like, I'm not gonna take nothing. Like, I'm gonna learn to heal this on my own,
Yeah.
right? And then a year and a half goes by, and I'm like, bro, this shit's got worse. Like,
Yeah.
I had some tears, not in my discs itself, but the cartilage surrounding the discs in my cervical spine. And then my right shoulder separated.
Were you riding a bike or you got hit by like a semi truck? Like what happened?
No, dude, I was in my sedan.
Hmm?
I was in the car, and actually I hit the car, but they made a very stupid turn, like a left when they should have waited for me, like a reckless left. So I slammed on the brake and T-boned them.
Hmm.
Um, they're at fault and everything,
Sure.
but it was just like, I don't know, like they had a newer car. My car was this old 2000 Toyota Corolla, so it had enough to where I walked out and I'm alive, and
Yeah.
my brother and dog were okay. The person I hit was okay, but like the whiplash, it tore my shit up like from here, and then the cartilage surrounding some like two or three of my cervical discs, had some bulging discs in my lumbar spine, but um, dude, like if I could rewind a second before I get into that recovery,
Hmm.
I was able to heal my knees through knees over toes. Like when we trained together, I was
Yeah.
like just spamming knees over toes stuff, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
because my knees had surgery. They were fucked up from my college football days, and they were achy. And then all of a sudden, I see fucking Ben Patrick like he's talking about his knees that were worse than mine,
Mm.
multiple surgeries on both legs, addicted to painkillers, but he's like dunking and then he drops into the splits. He's putting his knee over his toe where everybody was like, don't ever do that.
Right.
And I was like, just like, what the fuck? I just was like, there's something to this. And I have the same story. I want to have the same recovery story, but I'm in pain all the time. So I spammed it, I learned it, became a coach, and I was like, okay, like I learned how to heal the knee without anything like that. I can learn how to heal this.
Right. Right.
What I found out was that the spine is very different, man. Like I was doing some rope flow and stuff, and some things definitely helped. I was doing like some functional patterns and trying to follow the spiral myofascial line. I'd find relief, but it was like a year and a half of troubleshooting, and I was like, man, like this is my company, partly my company, and like what am I waiting for at this point, you know? So that's when I ended up doing it myself. And now I'm back to doing like pull-ups, handstands where I couldn't do any of that shit for a while. Like
Yeah,
my
you're doing some pretty cool athletic stuff now. Let me ask you this, like, so you have a football background as well, and like, how did this all start? Like, I mean, I'm sure you were pretty athletic before. Like, how did this all start? Like, you got done with college football. You know, we probably have a same background, like back squat, front squat, cleans, all that good stuff. And
yeah.
then, like, how did you start? Like, I know you're yoga certified. You did the knees over toes. You did the WEX stuff, landmine stuff. Like, how did that all start for you?
Oh man. Yeah, you just mentioned like all those like some of my favorite certifications, and I think that just shows like I'm an explorer, man. Like I'm never dogmatic, and it kind of like bleeds into how I've lived my life. Like after I finished football, I was young, I didn't really quite know what I wanted to do, and so like I traveled for some years. Like I spent like 3 years living in Japan, spent some time in China, New Zealand, and I'm saying that to just talk about like I started training and I was always very curious, and that's why I traveled to all these places. I went to school in New York and played football there. But what got me into training was like I never thought it was going to be my full-time gig. It
Same
was
here.
always like, you same for you?
Yeah. I think, I mean, I'm not saying I'm like the best one, but I feel like a lot of the good ones in this field are the ones that kind of like fall into it. They weren't the ones like, hey, I'm gonna get this kinesiology degree and be this coach. You know, like I think, I mean, you know, because I've seen it with other coaches. I'm like, how did you get into it? Like, oh, well, I did this. I was cutting hair, and then I did this. You know, like so. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah, well, it's a similar story. I would love to hear your story, bro. But mine was definitely the same as that. It was always like I was just always exploring on my own, and I found knees over toes, and I started to just train friends
Hmm.
for some time, even in Japan, just training people, and then it got the idea, and then I started to teach yoga too. I've been doing that for like a decade now, and it was always just like my side. I was like, I can make this a side thing,
Yeah.
but over time, like opportunities and more people just started to ask. And the turning point was actually a mutual friend of ours. What started my journey of making this my full-time gig was Una Kwok.
Hmm.
And she approached me. She took one of my yoga sculpt classes. It was like a weekday at like a 5 a.m. class.
Yeah.
And she approached me after and she was like, hey, do you do personal training? And I had, like I said, I had been doing some training just with friends and family.
Hmm.
Oh, lost you there for a
Right.
second.
Sorry. Go
But
ahead. Yeah, you trained her. She was a golfer, and then you started doing some friends and family, right?
yeah, yeah, and she's a pro golfer, right?
Yeah.
So it next thing you know, like she asked me if I want if I trained, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna jump on this opportunity, and I was in this transition period in my life, and I was like, oh, this could be really cool, and then just kind of took off from there. Like I've always loved movement and training, and I've always been exploring, so it was kind of like natural to turn it into like this career and like get paid for it. It's almost like now when I work out and I do certifications and stuff, of course some of them are tax write-offs, but it's also like R&D. Like when I'm
Right.
working out, it's all R&D. Like I feel like I should be getting paid when I'm working out, like
Yeah.
I'm doing some research here.
Right. Right. Right.
So That's how it started. It was just like the demand kept increasing, and then I just kind of decided to follow it because other windows and doors that I thought were going to be like my full-time gigs just closed and didn't work out.
Yeah.
And so came at the right time. And then I just kind of kept exploring from there, with all like ATG, RMT, landmine, and yeah.
How did you find like the WEC stuff or the rotational movement stuff or the landmine stuff? How did you get into all that? Because that stuff's like very fringe, right? Like it's very different from the traditional model, right?
Well, the I think I can relay it back to like my knees over toe stuff. That was also very fringe, but
Mhm.
I found that it worked. And older I got, the more I liked all the fringe stuff because not even just movement, we can talk about other things, but I started to find out that everything that like not everything, I'm exaggerating,
Sure.
but everything that they taught me was the right way or supposed to be this way, whether it was in medicine, I'm talking stem cell therapy and surgeries, whether it was training, whether it was like money and mindset and stuff, everything that I had been taught, it felt like, oh, actually it should be the opposite.
Yeah.
That's what and I mean, like I said, I'm exaggerating,
Yeah. It,
but
it, it is
some
that like, you like, we're probably around the same age. Like you grew up like go to college, just get a job. Like that was like, especially from like an immigrant background, but that's just kind of what we're all generally told, like go to college, get a job. It wasn't like this job or that. It was like get a like that was like your only goal, right? And that's kind of how I fell into it was like I got a real job. I did construction equipment sales and I got fired. And the person that I hit up, like we weren't even close in college, was my strength coach. I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. How do I do what you do? Like it was kind of like I always saw like his kids were around, like, they were working out. Like I always thought that was cool. And I was like, and I wasn't like a big workout guy back then. I just wanted to use it to play football, right? But then like it became a thing, right? So I think again, you kind of just fall into it. And yeah, I think that fringe stuff has always kind of like caught my eye too, right? I think it's just different, and then for me too, it's not polarizing. It's like I do a little bit of both. I don't just only do this stuff, not this stuff. I try to find the blend between the two, right?
Yeah, I think we're very similar in that. Cause I'm still gonna do back squats. I'm still gonna load the spine, even though I did a little bit of training with functional patterns, and I love like some of their own fringe stuff, but they're also like completely don't load the spine
Right.
axially. Or at least that's what it seems like their messaging is. Sometimes they say it's not, but it totally seems like it. But I love to brace the core in neutral to
Right.
build some general strength, and I love to do simple hip flexion drills to build my hip flexor strength. And then I also love to get into this landmine and coil the spine with some heavy weights and throw some shit around, do some
Right.
rope flow, get my knee over my toe. Like I love to do all that stuff. And so I've found the most success when I'm balanced, when I'm doing some little bit of distance running. And for me, like I just did 6 miles the other day. Like maybe I'll work up to running 10 miles regularly, but like for me, it's usually somewhere between 3 to 6 is good enough. I'm just
Yeah.
getting little zone two, maybe a little bit higher. I'm actually pushing myself higher usually, but then I'm also doing some yoga for rest and recovery. And then I'm doing some explosive plyometrics and stuff. Like that's what I like to do, and that's how I try to train all of my clients and
Yeah.
students and stuff. And so the fringe stuff for me was just I talked about me being an explorer, exploring other countries. That's always the older I got, the more I sought those things out because I was like, these fucking textbooks and things they're telling me, they're gonna be outdated soon. So I'm
Right.
always trying to stay ahead of the curve. And so I fell into WEC and landmine after exploring like just doing ATG and yoga for such a long time. But after that car crash, I realized like I need some rotation. And I saw people just throwing this rope around, and I was like, I think that would feel really good for my back because it's fucked up right now. And then I realized ATG kind of it's still something that's in all of my clients'
Mhm.
programming, knees over toes, but it doesn't really have rotation within it. It has the prereqs rotation. We'll work that QL, we'll work long way, we'll get your hips mobile. And I love to use it as almost as a base for like a prerequisite of functional, like optimized rotation, but there
Yeah.
wasn't actually any rotation. And
Mhm.
so I started to like just fling a rope around after I got stem cells directly injected into my lumbar, one of my L4, L5 disc, like directly injected. So I was stiff.
Mhm.
And like 2 weeks, a week or two post that injection, I got a rope, no training. I just started to fling it around, and there was all these cracks, and I was like, "Oh, that felt so good!" And then from there, it took off. I would just started to explore it more. I sought out a rope flow coach, and I trained with him virtually, privately for like, I don't know, it was like 3 to 5 months, and then from there. I saw a landmine. Once my spine was healed enough, I started to just play with that without having the proper technique or anything. And I was definitely not doing it right. But I just kept exploring that and eventually got certified in, RMT and landmine and learned the proper techniques. And so now it's like I like to deploy everything. Whatever is kind of needed at that time,
Yeah.
I'll deploy.
Yeah, I think it's good for us to have more tools because like you're by yourself out there, and if you don't have that skill set or tool, like you lose that client, right? So you want to have all these things kind of available to you. So how do you balance that with like your own training? Do you do like yoga on Mondays or lifting traditional linear lifting Tuesdays, Thursday you do this? Like how do you do all that?
Oh man.
Is it or does it differ like week to week? Like how do you do it?
Yeah, that's a very fun convo to think about because for the longest time, I went off straight intuition, which has its place, I think. Like I actually like I've been I said this already, but I've been teaching yoga for just under a decade now. And I'm at the point now where I mostly, and this will be controversial in its own right, I like to challenge myself as a teacher by walking into class without knowing what I'm going to do, by reading the room and I'll ask people, is there a certain pose you want to do? And sometimes nobody says anything, so I just make it up on the spot.
Right.
Or I'll like sometimes there's this fun exercise to do where I'm like, I have everybody give me a pose. What pose do you want to do today? It could be child's pose. It could be down dog. Some people will have these small poses, some people have these big poses, and then I have to organize it in
Oh yeah, that's
a
cool.
yeah, a really cool like anatomically intelligent sequence. But I've been teaching so long that I have a library, an index of different flows that can work your way up to some crazy fucking hamstring and hip, like birds of paradise thing,
Yeah.
or a simple one to open up the shoulders. I have this index, and so I like to challenge myself like that these days. Is I walk in, sometimes I'll have like a something I've been working on, and it'll be templated
Mhm.
from that. But a lot of times, that's what I like to do. So that's how my training was for the longest time. It was
Right.
like, what do I feel I need to do to? And for the longest time, it was very easy. My knees were fucked up. My back was fucked up. That's what I'm gonna focus on. So I just knees over toes made me feel so good for like when I was in pain for so long, and it increased my athleticism. So that's basically I just followed ATG.
Mhm.
And then I would also do yoga, which helped me, I realized later, with a lot of recovery and rotation that I was not getting. Then I would play sports and run. Um, and then later it was always just intuitive, but as of like this year, I finally started to track my own workouts. And that was because I was tracking so many people's like all my clients. I'm so meticulous about tracking their
Yeah.
workouts and their plan,
Yeah.
especially now that I moved out to Hermosa Beach. Like I'm training a lot of like high level golfers and clientele. And so I'm like I've upgraded my systems to reflect the value that I'm giving them because I charge a fucking high ticket now.
Right.
And so I'm like I'm making all their form videos. They have access to this sheet that shows their program, the proper form video and everything. And then I started to realize like, man, there's holes in my training because I'm only being intuitive about it. So I
Right.
started to track, and now the split for me is like there's always going to be multiple days of yoga for me, and then that's for this like stretchy isometric work that helps me recover and feel so much better. There's probably like 2 days of a week, and then the other days are I'm gonna have like probably one explosive plyometric day, and that's probably gonna include some landmine stuff with some bands.
Mhm.
And then the other days are gonna be probably slower, really controlled eccentric isometric knees over toes stuff to help balance it out. So that's probably like 1 to 2 days of that and just general, almost PT type stuff where I'm just trying to fix imbalances. Probably one explosive day and then one or two like sprint and or just jogging days. And these days it's just jogging right now. I'll get back into sprints pretty soon here. I've been recovering from that adductor strain I was kind of
Yeah.
alluding to earlier, but I'm almost there. So I'll probably start adding in like 100% sprints again too. So I don't know, man. I try to stay balanced and I try to just offset. Okay. So like
It's
Monday,
hard
I'll do,
because you do all these things and like the more knowledge you get, the more skills you acquire, you want to like get it all right. So it's like it's just kind of hard, you know. Because I have my days too where like I have a plan. Most days I'm adjusting, right? So it's like I tell people this all the time. The same kind of you said earlier is like you have people are so rigid sometimes, right? You can't just be intuitive. You can't just be rigid. You got to find that balance, right? So it's like it's okay to come off of that. Sometimes the rigidity can hurt you because you're like, oh, I got a bench today, and it's like, well, like your shoulders aren't feeling good. You could do like something else, right?
hmm, yeah. What about you? How do you kind of what do you do for your split? Because we have a lot of well, we have definitely similar tools. And I know you have a lot of tools too, and sometimes it's hard to keep all of them sharp, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I sprint 2, 3 times a week, no matter what. Like I'm always gonna do that, and then I'll do like 2 to 3 explosive days on top of that. So like yesterday, I hit some. I just hit plyo, so I have like a more of extensive day where I'm jumping harder, and then I have an intensive, or sorry, backwards. I have an intensive day where I'm jumping harder, and I have an extensive day where I'm just like jump rope, skipping, hopping. I do it like that, and I have one day that's like higher force. So like the cleans, right? Cleans, landmine cleans, linear cleans, like, and then I'll have like a longer cardio day. And some of those are blended in depending on what day I'm doing. So it's just kind of like I see where I just kind of fit in where I fit. Like I have, it's almost like a checklist, right? I have like 20 different things I want to get done, and I just kind of piece it together depending on the week. So they don't always fit together. Like I know you're not supposed to like sprint and do your cardio. Well, I do it and I'm fine, right? So like, yeah, again, for me, I have like these checklists of items that I try to get through. And depending on how the week looks out, I'll put 4 or 5 things on this day, 2 things here, 0 things here, 4 or 5 again. So I kind of do it that way. So I just have like, again, I tell people this too, like I have a checklist of items and these items can differ for each person, right? What are the things that you want to work on more? This person might have 3 mobility, on there, and then you got to make it fit for them, right? Or they might have 4 cardio days, right? Then piece it together on how it fits. So I think for me, it's more of like creating a list of items that you think you need, and then figuring out where it's going to fit on, based on that person and based on their schedule.
Yeah. Wow. What about rope flow? Where does that typically fit? Are you
Uh,
doing rope
I don't
flow?
program it, so sometimes I'll just like pick it up. Like I'm like I'll feel like either I'm like kind of out of it, or I'm like lethargic, or I can't really think. I just start picking up and I do it. Usually for me, I just do it with my clients. That's like when I do it. I don't ever program it. I'll just do it with them, and you can see like for me, what I've seen is like the ones who can kind of pick it up, they're able to like let go and be free. Whereas like some people who can't pick it up, I'm like, you're not letting go. You're so worried about the workout or what you got going on at home that you're just like stiff. Like I've seen that in those people. The ones who can just kind of go. They're I don't want to say like they're open-minded, but they're more open-minded. They're not as maybe ego driven as another person, right? Because it hurts a little bit, right? You can't move like, how come you can't move this? You can't even a simple one where you're going underhand scoop and you're syncing it up to when you step your left foot down, right hand, left foot, right? Like some people just can't do that, right? And I think what I've seen is for them, it's like they're probably more like rigid as a person, and they're unable to adapt to change is what I've seen.
Yeah, that's rope flow is a very interesting one because I've had to find the proper balance of who to introduce it to and
Sure.
when to introduce it to them,
Right.
depending on, like you said, their open-mindedness or on their willingness to try these different things. Because some people, like you said, they're athletic, they like this fringe stuff, they can't wait to do it. They're requesting it.
Right.
Or when I introduce to them, they pick it up. Other people, and I've made this mistake in the past, uh, where it's like I'm like it's because I train mostly golfers now, and
Right.
it's so good for golfers to train like weight shift, coordination with your body, not trying to because like in golf, one of the big things is like you get handsy and you try to use your hands, but
Right.
then it makes your kinematic sequence off. You're not using the hips,
Right.
your accuracy is not there, and rope can help teach you that because it's like in golf, some of your best and furthest swings are the ones that feel effortless. You're
Right.
not you're not like squeezing too hard. You're just in there flowing. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, I didn't even feel like I swing as hard as usual, but it went your furthest.
Right.
Rope flow can help teach that. But some of these people, I give them a rope and they start swinging around, and you could see it immediately in their face, like, what the fuck am I paying this guy
Right,
for?
right, 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 right. Because you don't want to like make him look stupid. Like that's not your job, you know. Like, and I tell like clients that too. I'm like, I'm not like my job's not to make you look stupid. Like I would look dumb. You do realize that, right? Like, yeah, it makes sense. But sometimes like they just can't get it. They just feel so stupid, so you just bag it. But yeah, like it's this. Yeah, it's hard to explain, like you said, but it's like this balance of like, because you're not really creating tension with the rope, but there is a little bit of like concentric, eccentric relaxation, like, and that's in any sport. Like, you've played football, you've done yoga, like, it's not just all, concentric, everything's tight, everything's going. And then on the other side of it, it's not just like, you can't just like flow your way through things too. Like, you see, I'm sure you see I see with yogis too, you can see the ones who are like, I'm gonna step my foot in between my hands. I'm like, all right. And then you have some that's kind of like flop there, right? And then
Yeah.
you see the good ones that kind of have that innate almost like balance between the two. And I think you need that whether you're doing yoga or golf, right? Because you can't grind through it and you can't just like, all right, you got to have that balance. And I think some of the rope flow, just moving it around innately teaches that stuff.
Yeah, man. And it's been really cool because I've been able to really get people to buy in at my facility. And it was a little bit hard at first, and I had to find the right balance, but now I have enough people bought in and they're skilled with it. Like they'll flow, they'll do underhand sneak, and I keep it pretty simple. I'm actually not trying to teach them, but I'm teaching golf patterns and weight shifts. So we do a lot of dragon roll. I don't
Yeah.
know what it's called when you do like this. It's from an underhand pattern and then you twirl it around, but it's this thoracic rotation
Yeah.
and you coil and throw it through. I don't know what they call that, but I call it thoracic rotation. But I love it because it's like literally a very similar pattern of
Yeah.
shifting, coiling the spine, and then coiling it through with the rope. It's like, oh, I love that. And so I've been able to get people to buy in and they look good. So, and I also kind of know that like for most of these people, I'm not going to introduce it for some time.
Right. Yeah. That's the
But
first thing you do. You're going to not have clients, like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because you see, I mean, like I'm not talking crap, but like you see some of these guys who go to their cert, whatever that cert is, whether I've been to it a lot. They kind of bag what they normally know and try to just throw all this stuff at the people they train, and all of a sudden those people are like, oh, I don't want to do this, right? Like I just try to sprinkle stuff in that I know, right? Like I don't just all of a sudden do only landmine stuff, right? I don't all of a sudden only do rope. Like you got to find ways to like sneak it in, right? Don't bag what you know, but just try to sneak that stuff in there, right?
Yeah, dude, and I think there's something to be said about, GPP. Just like if you want to swing a golf club effectively, I'm gonna keep talking in terms of golf because that's
Sure.
that's what I
Yeah.
do. And you could argue this for not almost for any sport, but you're gonna benefit from doing some like B stance RDOs or single leg RDOs because you're creating hip stability and you're going to need that hip to be able to stabilize as you rotate over it and that hamstring. So it's like, yeah, I'll throw them into some fringe stuff, but we're also just doing some back squats,
Right.
some lunges where, oh, you have no stability. You can't even ground in that. Or I'm talking kind of, I don't mean to sound like this, but some people it's like, man, like your hip can't like stay in neutral as you hinge forward. So like let's just work some simple fucking
Right.
RDOs and load that up.
Yeah, I think it's like, you go to whack method, and you learn all this cool stuff, and then you're like, all right, well, and then you start doing it, and you're more athletic. You're like, well, you got to remember that like you and I have like a base of GPP from football, like, so you got to give those to those people too before you do all this stuff. Like we have that base, and sometimes like we attribute, yeah, those things have helped unlock a lot of stuff, but you can't only attribute that you did WEC or functional patterns and you got this way. Like we did years and years of regular football lifts that get you there, right? So like those are important too. And like, and sometimes people just throw this stuff at them where like this person doesn't even have like they can't goblet squat a 16-kilo kettlebell, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a big thing with a lot of golfers, man. It's like they will not all of them, but I'll see a lot of people and they see Rory McIlroy's workouts and he's
right,
tossing a medicine ball into a wall and they come train with me and they're like, when are we going to throw this fucking medicine ball
Right.
explosively? And in my mind, I'm like, bro, you have no internal hip rotation. Like we just got to do a bunch of mobility drills and
Right.
GPP for some time. Because otherwise, if we start to rotate, you're going to compensate. You're probably going to use
Right.
your lumbar. It's
Your whole
going to
body,
be
just your whole body's smooth. There's no disassociation, right?
yeah, so it's a really interesting like field to be in because it's like combining this GPP, giving them some rotation because you do want to rotate, of
Right.
course, but also like trying to get them to buy in, like, hey man, we just got to open up your hips for first, and that's going to come with some strength training, but we're not going to throw some medicine balls around just yet. We'll get there. Like,
Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's harder to explain to like field sport athletes that there's like levels. Like you're here and you want to do LeBron's workout or whatever. Like it's hard to explain. Where like fighters, it's easy for me to explain to them because like they're like, well, I don't do that stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. That stuff's great, right? On your first day of MMA training, would you go spar? Would you just fight friends in the gun? They say no. I'm like, all right, same thing here. Like that's sparring. You got to get to here first. Like we got to get you punching good, fundamentals, and then you do this stuff. So like they understand a little bit better than sometimes some of these guys because a lot of these times like, oh, I just want to throw a ball. I'm like, yeah, you're not there, you know. So I think it's like harder for some of the field sport, court sport athletes than it is for like the fighters to understand that too.
that's a good analogy, bro. I'm going to steal that. Of
Right.
course, I'm going to change it to golf, but it's going
Right.
to be remember your first time playing golf? Did you just start smacking a driver? Maybe you did, but it probably wasn't very effective. You
Right.
had to learn to hit the smaller clubs first
Right.
and shorten your swing. You didn't do a full swing right away.
Right.
So I think that's a great analogy. I'm going to steal
Yeah,
that.
yeah, bringing it back for them because they're like everyone wants to do that stuff. Like you're not gonna just play 18 holes your first day, right? Like you might
Yeah.
play one and work on different shots from for that one hole. But some of these guys, like, yeah, you explain it to them, they're oh, okay, that makes sense. Like you're not, you know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so yeah, I try to break it down for those guys. Okay, so like where do you see this stuff going now? Like you have mostly golfers, like what about like non-athletes? Do you feel like non-athletic people, they don't play sports, can benefit for some of the stuff you do or some of the stuff that's out there?
Yeah, 100%. And I have clients that like that are not into golf. They come to my golf performance training facility, but they're not a member there, and they come just to train with me. And their programming is going to be different, tailored to what they need. But we're also like, if they lack coordination, eventually I'm going to get them to pulling that rope around, you know. Um, so it's just I'm gonna answer this question by like I now assess people on their first day, and I think most people assess people, but I didn't always quite do it like this. But now I try to assess people and see where their imbalances lie first. So I'll test things like their IR, their hip ER, their shoulder overhead ability, their knee flexion ability, because I'm big into knees over toes. I want to see how far they can do that. Their hip extension ability. I'll test these things. I'll get a measurement and I'll test their stability by doing some simple things like hip flexion and see if there's any pain. And when I find an imbalance, I'll like attack that first. It's almost like I'm not a physical therapist, but I'll call it like corrective exercises.
Sure.
That's how I typically like to start people. And it's not just that. Like we'll do some dynamic stuff too sometimes, but a lot of times it's simple corrective exercises in the beginning. But once that's kind of up to speed, a lot of these like training programs can look pretty similar. They're going to be different in a lot of ways, but like somebody learning, so let's take this guy for example, learning to like, and you do landmines, so coiling here, hiking that hip up, feeling that counter rotation is going to help you in your gait. Now, that's maybe don't start with that. I can start them with some like lighter cables, functional pattern stuff that's going to teach them counter rotation, maybe some rope flow. But that pattern, and then all of a sudden they're going to be walking differently, right?
Right,
They're going
right,
to feel this counter rotation. And when they run and when they sprint, they're going to feel it. So I think there's a place for everybody, whether you want to play a sport or not. And for me, I'll get some clients that are more for aesthetics. That's not my demographic, but I will have some people because they know me, they want to train and they're like, they want a bigger butt.
right, right, right.
So I always make it my job to give them what they want, but I also like to Miyagi them a little bit. Like they don't realize, but I'm teaching them some fundamental locomotive stuff while we're doing a superset of curtsy squats with some back squats and stuff. But I'll throw in a little bit of rotation stuff. Doesn't have to be rope flow, but it could be something to where I'm helping them with their gait a little bit. So they're still getting, I don't know, I'm really big into locomotion and movement now, and I know you are too. And it helps you feel so much better.
Yeah, I think again, I think bodybuilding is great. Like being buffer or looking better is great, but I also feel like life requires you to be athletic. I don't care what you do. Like at some point in your life, you might get bumped off a sidewalk, need to catch yourself. Like life requires that. Like being ready for the stage does not prep you for life whatsoever. Like I'm just coming from a little guy, I get that, but like I do bodybuilding workouts, I'll do that stuff because I think it's important to look good because it makes me feel better too, right? But I think like I just tell anyone like, yeah, I gotta get you better at life. Like it sounds corny, but like if you're able to balance better, it's gonna help you in life, no matter if you play a sport or not, right?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're on the same page with that. Well, I wanted to ask you about like landmine, man, because like I fell into this golf performance training. I just kind of fell into it, which is kind of crazy because I was never a golfer growing up. I played fucking football, loved to
Right,
play basketball, played some baseball, loved to run, loved to play frisbee.
right.
And I played golf a handful of times, and I was always really shit at it, so I hated it. I was like,
Yeah,
this sport sucks. It's
yeah,
it's like, but I ended up falling into it because one of the golf swing coaches, I trained him. He came to me a little over a year ago when I was in Chino, and he needed some help with his opening his thoracic spine.
yeah,
And so I did it, and he was a friend of mine, and he liked what he saw. So he trained with me for I think 3 months, and then he was like, "You got to come train these people out here." And I was like, "Bro, I don't really have a want to do that, and
yeah,
also I don't play golf." And he's
yeah.
like, "Trust me, like yeah, like you'll golf needs you." And so I gave it like a trial run, and I was commuting to Manhattan Beach, 50 miles one way and 50 miles back, while still doing my Chino training and teaching yoga out there. And what I found was that I had a really the perfect skill set for it because I was hyper focused on mobility, which and I'm not really an aesthetics bodybuilder type of guy, and I'll have some stuff for that, kind of like you, but I'm not really for that. And but I don't like to bench press anymore. I'll do maybe some dumbbell bench.
I've been doing heavy dumbbell inclines. That's what I've been doing. I'm feeling good with it.
Yeah, those are like that dumbbell incline bench is like the only type of bench I'll typically do. And otherwise, I'll do some type of variation of ring push-ups,
Yeah,
eccentric push-ups, some type of that. But I found that I had this really good, cool skill set for it, and I liked to coil and rotate. And so I ended up taking the opportunity and stuff, man. And the other thing I realized was that I felt like the golf strength and conditioning in the performance side was like it's like at this inflection point, like it's catching up to the game. Like
yeah,
a lot of other sports are trying different things and stuff, but it felt like golf was one of these sports where for the longest time people didn't fucking do train for it. They
yeah.
would get fucking like the pros would be out of shape, they'd be drunk, and then obviously it's changed, and Tiger helps change that, which is
Right. Yeah,
Tiger's time was a while ago, but it's at this point now where it's like right at this cusp of like all of a sudden people are taking golf performance training seriously. And I was like, man, I want to help push that in the right way. And
mhm,
I was thinking before, like nobody does rope flow with golf training, nobody does landmine, and it's so perfect because you have to
yeah,
coil, you have to have your kinematic sequence dialed in
right,
if you want to lift heavy. Otherwise, the landmines, if you're doing heavy, you're not going to get it up if
right,
you go arms first. It's
right,
the same thing with the golf swing.
right,
So I was previously like, oh, dude, I'm gonna fucking revolutionize this sports training. But
right.
I'm realizing now as I'm getting into it, oh, there's actually other people that are doing the same, which is
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Like I'm noticing the Titleist guys are now
yeah.
doing
The
rope flow.
TPI. Yeah,
Yeah, TPI is now doing rope
yeah,
flow, and I'm like, whoa, that's cool. Like
yeah.
it's not a bad thing; it's a cool thing. But one thing I do haven't seen is other golfer trainers using the landmine, which I think is once you have the prerequisite strength, it is so good because like you're doing an Olympic lift and you've been doing Olympic lifts for a while, you have once you get to your max, you better get your hip extension fully dialed
Okay.
before you pull it up. If you're not going to get it very high, it's the same thing with that.
Yeah.
Like, and the same thing you have to do in that golf swing. So I love to teach it in because it's the same kinematic sequence without messing with
Right,
their
right. Yeah,
actual golf.
you can't get too specific to mess up their deal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
don't want to get into that because I'm like I said, I'm not that great of a golfer. I'm learning it now. I'm getting better, but
yeah.
like I leave that swing shit to the swing coaches.
Right,
Like
right.
I'm gonna train the nervous system similarly and find a pattern, but I'm gonna stay away from
Right.
too much of this stuff. I'll do some a little bit, but I don't want to get too deep
That's
into it.
funny. Working with golfers, sometimes they like, I'm like, I'll just like, let's say they're there, they have the mobility, they have all that stuff. I'm like, throw the golf ball hard. And they're just like, I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
like, I'm not looking for form right now because I want to build speed, I want to build power, right? And like the ones who get it, they really get it. Like, just throw it with bad form. Like, we're not golfing here. And then it's cool to see some of those guys like really unlock that. They just throw it versus some of the guys who just like, I'm like, dude, we're not looking for a perfect golf swing here.
yeah. So like, and that was a long way to say like, and we're talking about the same thing because you're talking about using the hips, using
Right.
optimizing the kinematic sequence. Like, how do you feel about the land? Because it's also like you can directly see because I know you played football too.
Yeah.
So like you can obviously see how it can be used when you're on the line and you have to like create force, not just linearly. And whether you're a linebacker, whether you're on the line you can also directly see it being useful for wrestling, but like I also obviously think it's perfect for golf. Like what do you think about like landmine you and stuff and getting strong in that coiled position?
I think it's good. I think like once you watch more of these sports and you see those positions, one concept I learned before that was like tension or intention over position, right? Sometimes we're so worried about the position that you're not like getting the right tension, right? So like teaching these people that like it's about like not only creating the shape, but creating the tension behind the shape. And I think that transfers. If you watch like judo, right? I'm throwing a throw, like I'm throwing a baseball, it's all here. Like you're doing all the things, these shapes and these patterns are there. And I think some of the traditional stuff misses that. I think people are just afraid of what they don't know. And I think it's all beneficial, right? I think again, if you have more tools, you're able to help the person like differently.
Yeah. And how long have you been training, Joy?
I've been training since 2012. So what is that? 14 years?
Wow.
Yeah.
How old were you when you started?
What is that? I'm 12. What is that? 14 years, 26, 25. So, yeah, somewhere around there.
And so would you say your niche or specialty is fighters, or what is it? Or if you have one?
I don't think I have one. I think like sometimes we get so pigeonholed, and I think that's like the trap, right? Whatever you believe in, I think that's a trap. Like people want this identity and they want to be an FP guy, and they all have their shorts hiked up, no shirt, like no shoes. Like I get all that. Like we're human, so we want to belong to a cult, but I think that stuff can pigeonhole because like when you're online, they want you to have a niche, and I think you and I are very curious. Maybe you get bored easily, but it's like. I don't see, it didn't seem like you have a niche. It seems like you do all kinds of things. And I think that's what the niche is like showing people they can do anything and everything. And it's okay to do other things. Like that, I think that's the niche. I think you have that. I have that. I think that's like the niche. Like it's okay. Like how people, they'll ask me like, what do you think about Orange Theory? What do you think about yoga? What do you think about them? Like, just do it. Like you're going to gain some benefit from it. Like we're so like, oh no, Orange Theory's bad. You don't need to raise your heart rate. That I'm like, I get a benefit out of it. I try to beat the guy next to me. It's competitive.
Yeah.
So like I don't see like there if you do something, it's gonna help. Like I talked to someone last time, it's like dance. Like if I became a better dancer, would that help me in golf? Would that help me MMA? It's not gonna hurt me. Like me having more control, more access to my body is gonna help me in some capacity. So I
Yeah.
think if you develop all these ranges of movements through ATG, right? Because now you're putting them in a range that they didn't train. If they didn't train that range of ATG, of knees over toes, now they're playing life. They slip and their knee goes over their toe. They've never trained and never accessed it. Something bad's gonna happen, right? First, as like Lucas has given them that skill set, right? Or they get pushed, but they're so used to being neutral spine, and all of a sudden they're bent. Now their QL is messed up. But like if you taught them these movements, gave them these skills, they have access to this stuff within their body, they're probably less likely to get hurt.
Yeah. Dude, that's it's funny. I was just talking to my coach about niches and stuff, and because I have resisted the niching down for so
Yeah,
long. This is the closest I've been to niching down because now I'm mostly training golfers and I
right.
like the opportunity that's here with it that I talked about earlier. But like the conversation I just had with my coach was like, well, what do I what is my niche? What do I stand for? Well, shit, I kind of stand for a balance. Like
Right.
I think that is
That's the
that's
niche.
not quite the niche, but it is the niche.
Right.
Like so
That's
it's
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the niche, man. It's okay. Like that your niche is doing everything and anything, right? Like that's the niche. Like, because again, like the more you have, like the more people can do. Like right now, outside of golf, all golfers, people have a lack of movement problem. So if it is they are only moving the rope, great. Like, it's better than sitting at a desk, right?
Yeah.
If they're only doing some coils, or doing some down dogs, great, good.
Yeah, and it's like I try to like diagnose what a person needs by looking at their imbalances, but sometimes I find solutions within my own body to an imbalance like on accident,
Yeah,
like in a yoga class or something where I didn't quite realize that like it was my glutes that was making my hips tight and holding all these isometric poses loosened it up, or like this landmine cert helped my strained groin just because I was stabilizing a lot and I
right,
was kind of staying away from doing heavy loaded stuff, but all of a sudden this load and stabilizing helped it a lot. And so I try to take that kind of like you said, it's the whole balance approach, trying everything, trying Orange Theory out. Like it might not seem like it's good for your sport, but I
right,
think neurologically learning a new skill
right,
and it helps you connect deeper to your body.
right,
And then you all of a sudden they're telling you to do something you've never done. You're like, what the fuck is going on? I've never felt this fucking
right,
muscle before.
right,
And then it helps you connect a little deeper. It makes you a little more athletic for your sport. And it
right.
doesn't seem like it would have ever happened, but all of a sudden that dance class
Yeah, I
helped
think
you find a little
right,
more
right. You
coordination.
think you gotta have open mind, like you say, it's easy to say that's not gonna help me versus saying like, how is that gonna help me? Like whatever you do, it's gonna help you. Unless you're like too far away from it. Unless you are Usain Bolt, you run the 100 and then you're asked to run a 10K. Like that probably won't help you. But like outside of that, we're all in here, not out here. Everyone thinks they're here, like they want to be hyper specialized, like, but we're all kind of here, right? So yeah, man, I really appreciate the time, man. It was really cool to talk, and hopefully we get to train soon. I'll have you come out here or I'll go out there one day.
Yeah, dude, if you're ever out near LAX, dude, you have
Yeah.
an open invite. The facility that I train at is sick. It's like we've got a cold plunge, we got some saunas, we got some
Yeah.
showers, towel service, but then the
Yeah.
gym is pretty cool. It's a little bit small, but like we have just about everything that you would need. And of course,
Yeah.
I have some R&T and ropes there and
Yeah.
stuff, and landmines. And then yeah, and if I when I come back out to the IE, maybe it'll just be that too, because
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's do it, man. All right, man. Take care. Sounds good.
All right, bro. Thanks for having me.
See
Have a
ya.
good day.
See you.
Appreciate you.